Hello. Recently I saw a video where there was a whole shelf in a store that was full of Mejiro Ryan figures, and they were half off, and it seemed like no one bought one. And that got me thinking, there isn't much appreciation for Mejiro Ryan, at least within the global community. So I thought, why not make a video about what is good about Mejiro Ryan, or at least what I find interesting. So, today we're going to meet Mejiro Ryan, the trainee from the Mejiro family, and one of the best lifters in the game. And when it comes to the gym, she is a powerhouse. But let's go over the more technical side, or at least you know, the more numbers based thing, if you're into that. So, let's start with her aptitudes. She has an A in turf and a G in dirt, so it'll take a lot of dirt sparks to get her to race dirt races. She has an E in short, or well, in global it's sprint, but I grabbed this off of Game Tora, and they call sprint short for some reason. A C in mile, an A in medium, and a B in long. So her aptitudes are fairly track blazer friendly, except for the sprint aptitude. But if you're training her for sprint, you're most likely going to be using her for a sprint race. And getting the sprint aptitude up isn't too difficult. At the very least, it's able to be raised up to A immediately, unlike F or G, where you need inspiration or two. As for strategy, she has an F in front, an A in pace, an A in late, and an F in end. So she is a natural pace chaser slash late surger. As for bonuses, she has a 20% in power and a 10% in wit. This also feeds into the headcanon of why I think she is a science-based lifter. But forget about that. 20% in power means she's able to get power fairly quickly, which is good because power is one of the few stats that are kind of difficult to get. Yeah, that's why there's a lot of like power sparks. You're commonly using a lot of power sparks, or if you're training for, let's say, long or medium, you're usually going to be using a combination of stamina and power, or stamina, power, and wit. So, her having 20% in strength, or well, power, and then 10% in wit means that you have a bit of liberty to reallocate some of your sparks elsewhere. That maybe speed or stamina, depending on what you need and the strength of your cards. So she has fairly good bonuses. Now, let's talk about her unique. And despite how many times this unique gets inherited, right? Like this is one of the more commonly inherited uniques for late surgers or end closers, like backliners. Yeah, despite all that, she doesn't get any credit for it. So let's talk about what makes it good. It's a corner acceleration, essentially. It's a final corner acceleration. No, not final corner. It's a corner acceleration. So if there's a corner on the late race, or at the start of the late race, that makes her unique very useful to have. And when inherited, it's a point 2 acceleration, but if you're using Medjo Riot herself, she has an innate point 4 acceleration, which is very good. Yeah, as that lets you get space for other inherited uniques that you could use, like the more common Triumphant Pulse. Uh, or let's say it's a corner map, right? You might want to inherit Medro Dober unique. But I digress. This has been a common inherit in a long time for champion meets. So I'm really surprised that I saw that she doesn't get much appreciation. Anyways, despite that, let's go over her other stuff. Her innates. She has an innate rainy day, so if you're looking to run her as a pace chaser and you need a groundwork proc for whatever reason, rainy days is there to help. Up tempo, which is pretty useful for pace chaser style. It is possible to maybe get it used or to proc it as a late surger, but it's quite difficult. So this is more likely to proc if you're training her as a pace chaser. And she has outer swell as one of her innates, which is a pretty common late surger skill. It's pretty common to see this when it's good. Uh, on some maps, it might get eaten, especially final corner, by the acceleration zone. But otherwise, it's a pretty common uh, skill to get. It's very useful because late surgers or backliners, they're although all the racers are coded to try and stay in the inner lane as much as possible, they're often going to be on the outside trying to overtake. So, despite it looking like it might be uncommon to activate, it's actually not that risky to get. If, let's say, you need this for a team trials and it's like one of the cheaper skills you can get, it's not unreliable, essentially. Now, let's go over to potentials. At potential 2, which is basically free, she gets pace strategy, good recovery, procs pretty often, as great for team trials, or if you're training her in career and you need something to get you through, let's say, the Kikasho or the Tenosho. Although I wouldn't say it's enough, but you know, at level 3, we get Killer Tunes, the gold version of Uptempo, which is useful again if you're a pace chaser, slightly unreliable if you're a late surger. At level 4, you get medium straightaways. So this makes it so that Mejiro Ryan is quite useful in medium maps because she already has medium straightaways as an innate skill. So you don't have to go looking for it in hints, though you can if you want to make it cheaper. Then at potential 5, we get Rising Dragon, which is the gold version of Outer Swell. Uh, Again, same reasons as for why it's useful. Now it's a gold skill, which makes it even stronger. Now, skills that you can get from events. You can get wet conditions, which again, useful if you need a groundwork proc. It's also just good to get because it's power, which means if you already capped out power, let's say 1300, you can go even further and get a lot of acceleration from the new mechanic in the game fully charged. So that really cements her really good acceleration innately as a racer. So again, it's a green skill. Get it if you can use it, otherwise you don't. It's also a great groundwork proc, but if you don't need it, you don't really need it. You can just invest more into power. And then she can also get Slick Surge. Admittedly, this might be one of the more difficult ones because it requires her to win the Triple Crown in career. But if you can, and it's possible with a B aptitude in long, if you can get it, it is very useful because now that means you don't have to go looking for Slick Surge from one of your inherits. You can just get it through the event. So if you need that extra acceleration, Mejiro Ryan has you covered. Now, let's talk about her character. As a trainee, she is in the Miho dormitory. And, as you can see from the description, weight, that she's always getting more muscular. Yeah, she's a avid weightlifter, always in the gym, which means she has that work ethic. She will always be working on improving herself. Her birthday is April 11th. She is 163 centimeters, and she is in the senior division for her school year, which isn't that important since school years in this game are confusing. She likes resistance training, which is really good, and she dislikes cholesterol. One of the habits with her ears is that it changes position when she reads romance manga, which is one of her hobbies and is pretty good. It's pretty good to have a hobby like that. She reads and she practices good hygiene with getting a separate towel for her tail and always making sure that, you know, keeping yourself clean while you're working out. That way you don't get, you know, sick or whatever. Also making sure that the equipment is clean for others to use. Respectable. Yeah. She also cares a lot about the other measures, as you can see with her having a picture of herself with Dober and Bright when they were younger on her phone wallpaper. And yeah, I think that's a those are some of the interesting things that I'd like to point out about her initial profile. Now let's go over to the more uh well, not too deep because I don't want to spoil her character and career story because it's really good if you see for yourself. Yeah, she has one of the nicer stories in the game, one of the nicer, more well executed ones. Yeah, but anyways, to get the foot in the door, here's what I will say. At the start of her career and character story, she seems to be insecure of herself. And you can see this as you progress further into her career. She thinks she's not all that special, but her reason for running and her main goal is to surpass Medro McQueen and make the Medros proud. And even if it wasn't anything special, that doesn't invalidate her desire to be in Tracing Academy and to race in the Twinkle series. Just because you don't have anything special, you don't have any special reason, doesn't mean you're not allowed to race. Anyone can race. If you want to race, you should race. You want to do a sport, you should do that sport. It doesn't matter if you're not talented, if you're more privileged than others, yeah, or even if you're underprivileged. Yeah, that shouldn't stop you from chasing what you want to chase. At the very least, it shouldn't stop you from pursuing a hobby. Yeah, but in Major Ryan's case, it shouldn't stop her from pursuing the career that she wants to be a racer in the Twinkle series. Yeah, and even if she doesn't like it, there are many other avenues that Umusme can get in terms of work. But regardless, I'm going off on a tangent. So that is why she races essentially. She wants to beat Medro McQueen and make the Medros proud. And a lot of her insecurity comes from being compared to Medro McQueen is actually it's not even due to actually no. There some of it is due to comparisons from the outside, but a lot of her insecurity comes from her comparing herself to Medro McQueen and her accomplishments and how she's a proper, quote unquote, proper Mejiro, unlike her. And in fact, in her summer camp event, she actually explains that she cut her hair short because she didn't want to keep on competing with Mejiro McQueen about on things like looks, etc. And she essentially lost confidence in whether she can pull off being quote unquote feminine, essentially. And that's kind of sad because it was at the time where she wanted to try exploring feminine styles and putting ribbons in her hair and etc. But because of her negative self-perception, she cut her hair. She just stopped competing with Medro McQueen. Long story short, she has internal issues. And and despite her low self-perception, though, in her fourth character story, she does show that she wants to win. She wants to compete. She is not any less of a racer than the others just because yeah, she thinks she's not as cool or as amazing as the others, or as elegant. Anyways, she's roommates with Ines Fujin, which ends up being an important for her classic year, but I won't spoil. And she also raced against Ogre Cap once, which is why she also makes an appearance in the manga for Uma Musume Cinderella Grey. Anyways, let's go to the elephant in the room. I think this is the problem with why she is commonly ignored in global. This is the reason why this is probably why she cut her hair, by the way. Like, my headcanon is that someone just walked over, saw her wearing the outfit, and is like, damn, uh, McQueen would probably pull it off better. And, oh, and it's not even that bad of an outfit, uh, at least for me. But at least the dress, at least the colors. Oh, fuck. Probably why is because it's kind of a mismatch of how she normally styles herself and like her racewear, and then this is her casual outfit, which kind of clashes with well, the pants, the shoes, and then or I say the hair. In fact, it's probably blame the barber. We should probably blame the barber. But in any case, yeah, in any case, just because her casual outfit kind of sucks doesn't mean that you should just ignore the character. Uh, in defense of Major Ryan, again, this is an opinion video. If if you don't like Major Ryan, fine. But I find it sad that she gets overlooked just because of apparently her hair being ugly. It's not that ugly, but when you pair it with this outfit, it sucks. Ryan, we gotta get you a new wardrobe. And then, yeah, back to what I was saying. Just because of her short hair, I mean, it's kind of sad. So that's why I'm explaining what are the good things about her because she is a good trainee, but she gets overlooked again because short hair and desperately needs a new wardrobe. Nice. But that doesn't excuse, you know, well, not really excuse. Again, it's an opinion video, but at the very least, give her a chance. So, final verdict. She has a nice story with character growth. As over the course of her career, you'll see her battle against her inner conflict and actually win. Hopefully, win. Depends on how you train her. So please do your best. Trackblazer friendly aptitudes. So if you want to bring her into Trackblazer, you can. Useful growths, commonly used inherited unique. So if you do make a good Metro Ryan legacy, that will get you, club points. So it's recommended to like build a good Metro Ryan legacy because it will be used when she's good. That and even if you like don't want to uh make it just for the club points when she is useful in a champion meet, that you still get a Major Orion legacy that you can use whenever you need to. Or let's say you need to borrow one for a community event. And there are community event champion meets, especially with Uma Musume Canada. They're holding one currently. Or the incoming sprint champion meet, where if you're a late surgery, you might want to pick up Major Ryan Unique and snipe sixth place to get that acceleration. Yeah. For this is a personal one, but I think she's an overall likable trainee. Works out, likes romance manga. I like romance manga. A lot of people like romance manga, yeah, especially if it's like a well executed one. You know, She's quite reliable. And I find that a lot of people nowadays have low self-esteem. So, well, me and myself included. And her story, I think, is a kind of good, I wouldn't say representation, but it tackles that kind of topic with, I think, a good direction. Because all she really needed is just a bit of support. She just needed, someone in her corner. And I think that's what a lot of us need nowadays. Yeah, if you have low self-esteem, you just need someone in your corner, someone who's gonna push you, not handhold you. Yeah, that does more harm than good, but pushes you to be your better self because you can be talented. You probably are talented. Maybe you just don't know it. It's just invisible to you. But that one push that is just one push that you need, and that's when you can see how much you're capable of. I like this quote. It's cheesy. It's literally just an idiom. But you can never tell a book by its cover, and it works for Metro Orion's case because, also pun intended, she likes reading manga. She likes reading books. Yeah, book. But I think it's very applicable to Medro Ryan because she just gets overlooked just because some people think she's ugly. And I will admit the short hair was jarring at first, but it's not that ugly that it won't grow on you. Now the casual outfit, on the other hand, it would be a blessing if, you know, we get the summer camp outfit. Wait, not summer camp outfit. Not the one in the curry. What was the one again? It was in the character art. Yeah, but she has a way better outfit. And even there's also other drawings. Regardless, I think it's the pants and the shoes. The pants and the shoes just don't work somehow. I think that's why. Anyways, regardless. Yeah. Poor poor fashion, who can blame her for poor fashion sense? I bet some of us have poor fashion sense too, but that shouldn't mean we should box others out, you know, shut them out or whatever. I'm going on a long tangent again. Yeah, that whole shelf of 50% Medjo Orion figures just really did a number on me. So forgive me. But as for closing words, please give her a chance to make you a fan. I promise you, at least it, I promise you, as someone who played through her character story and her career story, that and has commonly used her for champion meets, she is not going to disappoint. And yeah, that's it for the video. Uh, if you liked that, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, hype the video, spread the word of Medjo Ryan because she deserves as much love as the other Medjoros. Also, to any other Medjo Ryan fans out there, leave a comment. Like, what makes you love Medjo Ryan as a character or as a trainee, or in fact, or if you're into the more technical and like nerdy stuff like race mechanics, what do you think like makes her unique as a racer, etc. What makes her strong? Yeah, what do you think makes her weak in a race? Anyways, that's all. Also, if anyone can tell me where the 50% off Major Orion shelves are, let me know. I might just go there and buy them myself. Might even buy off the whole shelf. All right. See ya.